evening. We're going to go ahead and get started because I want to get you out of here at a decent time tonight. For those of you who don't know, my name is Michael Dowis. I'm one of the 3 assistant principals. I'm also the athletic director, and I think we've got a really exciting night for you this evening. I pulled out my black North Oconee blazer. Makes me feel like I'm ready to sell you some real estate, but I'm not. I'm not here to sell you anything. We're here except one thing I want to sell you. That is I want to sell you on the fact that we've got one of the best athletic departments in the state of Georgia. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a Titan Club video coming up in just a moment that we're going to show you. Before we do that though, I would like any of our coaches, if you're a coach and you're in the room, please stand up. We got coaches that are here. We got coaches still at practice. We got coaches that are going to be competing. We got coaches that aren't currently competing. But we appreciate all of our coaches taking their time out tonight to be here. They work very hard. I know you all know that. And then also I'd like for any Titan Club board members. Titan Club board members, please stand. We got Chris Manzi down here in the front. He is the president this year. And he is going to be here for questions. We have several of our board members present, so feel free to ask any questions of them regarding the Titan Club. Really excited about the year we've had. If the spring finishes up as strong as it started, we have a chance to have the best year athletically that we've ever had in North Oconee. And that's a credit to a lot of people, a lot of those people I just mentioned, but it's also a credit to you, the parents. Our student athletes have everything they need when we go on the field or court. They have everything they need and almost everything they want if they don't have everything they want. I have a lot of friends who are athletic directors. I go to conferences and things and I talk to people. We are so far ahead of the curve here, it's not even close with most people. And that is a credit to you. So I'm not here to try to sell you on anything except that we just need to keep doing what we're doing and keep trying to improve and keep working to be the best. So we're going to start tonight with a little video from the Titan Club. Let me back up just a minute before I start that and say one thing. Everything we do tonight, I got great feedback on last year's parent night. Everything we do tonight applies to every single sport. Every sport. There's nothing we're going to talk about that applies just to this sport or these group of sports. Everything we talk about tonight applies to every athlete. One of the things you're going to hear a lot in the next year that Dr. Brown is putting out there, and he's starting to already get out there, is North Oconee. Everything matters, and everyone matters. And everyone does matter. It doesn't matter what team they play on. It doesn't matter whether it's varsity, junior varsity, 9th grade. Every kid who steps on the field for North Oconee matters. They matter just as much as the other one. Everyone is important, and everyone matters to us. Everything matters, and everyone matters. So everything you're going to hear tonight applies to all of our sports. All of our athletes, male, female, doesn't matter. It all applies to everyone. So we're going to start with a Titan Club video, and we're going to go ahead and key that up.
This is North Oconee Athletics. 610 student athletes, 14 female sports, and 11 male sports. Since the school opened in 2004, North Oconee teams have won 11 state championships and more than 100 region championships while competing at the 2A, 3A, and 4A levels in the Georgia High School Association, or GHSA. The Georgia Athletic Directors Association Cup ranks the top performing athletic departments in each GHSA class. During the past 5 academic years, North Oconee has averaged ranking 5th in Class 4A. When compared only to public schools in 4A, North Oconee has ranked number 1 in the GABA rankings in 4 of the past 5 years. This championship caliber athletic success, matched with the superior academic opportunities afforded by a school district that ranks at the top of the state, makes the North Oconee student athlete experience unparalleled throughout Georgia. Operating a top-flight athletic program takes a dedicated and committed community. The county supports the athletic endeavors in North Oconee by hiring outstanding coaches and providing transportation to and from athletic events. North Oconee High School financially supports its athletic programs through gate receipts only. By law, no other county or state funds may be used to support Titan athletic programs. In an effort to support North Oconee athletics and to provide Titan student athletes with the necessary financial resources to compete at the highest levels, the Titan Club was created. The Titan Club is a not-for-profit 501c3 organization that performs accounting functions and provides fiduciary oversight for seasonal operation of individual sports. The Titan Club also provides zero-interest preseason loans to sports before they can collect their player fee packages and fundraiser money, and coordinates large-scale events for all sports to generate additional funds. The annual athletics operational budget is nearly $250,000. Here's a breakdown of how the funds are generated. $95,000 is generated from season ticket sales and gate ticket sales and allocated by North Oconee High School. $155,000 is raised by the Titan Club through corporate sponsorships, team fundraisers, player fees, and Titan Club department-wide fundraisers. These funds are allocated to sports by the Titan Club in consultation with the athletic director. In addition to sport-related funding, Titan Club fundraising efforts also support facility projects, senior night recognitions, and pay for travel-related expenses for North Oconee teams participating in state championship competitions. Here's an example of how a sports budget works. Sport T is allocated an annual budget of $10,000. North Oconee High School provides $3,000 of budget money through the allocation of gate receipts. The Titan Club allocates $7,000 to supplement the budget and allow the sport to have a full budget to start the season. Each sport is required to conduct fundraising activities throughout the year to pay back the Titan Club for that initial allocation. All sport-related funds raised above and beyond the initial allocation will go directly to the individual sport and its Titan Club account to be used at the discretion of the coach and as approved by the athletic director. The Titan Club assists each program with fundraising opportunities that can directly benefit the annual allocation. The Titan Club solicits and offers corporate sponsorships for North Oconee athletic events. Benefits may include Highway 53 marquee recognition, event signage, football game program recognition, web and social media recognition, and PA announcements at events. At each level of corporate sponsorship, there's a dedicated allocation of the sponsorship to be directed to the sport of the sponsor's choosing. In addition to corporate sponsorships, the Titan Club conducts 2 major fundraisers per year that allow each team to receive a direct benefit for participation. The Reverse Raffle, Silent Auction, and Rock and Roll 5K are annual events that help teams raise funds to support their annual Titan Club allocations. For the 2018-2019 school year, these events raised more than $100,000 in direct team support. As a parent of a North Oconee athlete, you are already a Titan Club member. There are no club dues. How can you support the Titan Club? Volunteer your time and efforts in support of your team. There's a variety of ways to be involved. Serving as a Titan Club board member. Serving as a team rep to the Titan Club. Soliciting corporate sponsorships on behalf of your sport. Collecting items for the Reverse Raffle and Silent Auction. Registering friends and family for the Rock and Roll 5K. Working concession stands, or organizing your own team fundraisers. North Oconee Athletics is one of many points of pride for the North Oconee High School community. The Titan Club is honored to work with and support the 600 plus student athletes, coaches, and administrators to create exceptional athletic experiences that will last a lifetime. Once a Titan, always a Titan.
All right. So the first, I get a lot of questions about the Titan Club. What does the Titan Club do? What is the Titan Club for? And the first thing you have to understand about the Titan Club that was just to kind of explain there is it is not a booster club. If you think about when you were in high school and you had a booster club, that is not what the Titan Club does. The Titan Club oversees the money, makes sure everything's done in a legal and judiciary way. So they don't raise a lot of money. There's very little. The Titan Club itself does not have a lot of money. The money that's in the Titan Club belongs to the teams. And they kind of work like a bank. They take those funds and they make those loans, and then they're paid back, because that's teams' money that has been raised, has been put into their, in essence, savings account or over-under account is what we call it. So that's kind of how the Titan Club works. The fundraising part of each team is kind of the parents underneath that team that will help raise those funds to support the team. That's kind of the booster club of each team. So that's kind of how the Titan Club works. Are there any questions? Got Chris Fancy up here, the president. Are there any questions about the Titan Club? No, I don't see you, Chris. All right, at this time, we're going to move on to our next speaker. And we actually rearranged our order a little bit, because he's participating at the University of Georgia, having their coaching clinic this weekend. So to talk a little bit about recruiting, our head football coach, Tyler Arnold.
Good evening. Appreciate everybody coming out. I'm going to try and be brief, but get you as much information as I can. I got charged with speaking on recruiting, which can be a difficult topic because no two situations are the same. You're talking about a student athlete. One student athlete's situation is going to be different from another. So when we sit down and start talking through these things, a lot of different things come up, and you have to find the right avenue for the right student athlete and the right school. So it can be difficult. It can be very stressful. But use your coaching staff, whoever that may be, whatever sport that may be, as a resource, because we've all had athletes that have gone on to play at the next level. So we've got some experience. I'm not saying we're experts, but use us as a resource to help as much as we can in that process. But I think, I got 3 or 4 slides of the questions that we get asked the most as coaches. Who's involved in this process? Obviously the student athlete and the family. And they're the ones that are going to be making all the decisions of where they're going to go from a college or university standpoint. And then you have your high school faculty and staff, which includes the coaches, but also includes the counseling department, which often gets overlooked, and their teachers, as they start asking for letters of rec and different things. But your counseling department is going to become your best friend through this process as they try and get out information with the application and all those different things that take place as you start to get ready to apply. And then the college coaches and their employees. And when I say their employees, we're talking about their admissions department or their student athlete council that takes care of visits and because all these schools now have all these departments that do different things. So your coach at the next level will facilitate it, but you're going to speak to dozens of people that are involved at the university as you go through this process trying to collect information and different things. So you're going to meet a bunch of different people. But always go back to your high school coach. They have your best interest at heart. They're going to be the ones that are really going to be able to help you if you want or are interested in playing at the next level. They're the ones that are going to help you on this end the most, outside of the counseling department. So make sure that you use them as a resource. All right. Another question that we get is, when do I need to start this process? When does it all begin? The earlier the better. If you're a rising 8th grader or a rising 9th grader, or you're a rising sophomore and you have interest in playing your sport at the next level, you need to go ahead and communicate that with your coach. That makes it a lot easier as you move forward because of the planning and all the preparation that goes into this whole process. In terms of what classes do I need to be taking, how does weight training fit in my schedule, when am I going to lift weights? so that you're preparing yourself in all these different ways so that when you graduate, you're in the best position possible to be successful at the next level. But, you know, the biggest thing that I tell our guys, and I know a lot of other coaches tell their kids, is you need to start creating a plan when you're younger. All right, and what I say by that is, or what I mean by that is, you need to create a list of schools that you're interested in. All right, so I tell them, pick a couple of the big ones. All right, shoot for the stars. Pick some at FCS level, Division II, Division III. All right, because there's a lot of different things that can happen, and you don't know where you're going to fall until it gets really close to signing day or to whenever your signing day is. So once you start creating that list, start gathering information and finding out if you know what major you want. That makes it easier because you can start eliminating schools if they don't offer that major, all right, or if they don't offer that sport, because some sports aren't offered at every school. But the earlier you start creating a list and you start narrowing things down and getting a better focus, the easier it is on the back end because you've had a chance to go see schools, research them. What do you like? What do you not like? If you try and do all this your senior year, it gets really, really stressful. Right? Because you're trying to compete at the highest level, you're trying to graduate, right? You're trying to spend time with your friends that you're about to leave. There's a lot of things going on. Right? So the earlier you can start that process, the easier it is on the back end. All right? Another question we get asked is, how do scholarships work? This is a big misconception. There's very few sports, and mostly at the Division I level, that offer a full ride to a student, where they sign and everything is paid for. All right, that's called a head count scholarship. All right, Division I football, I know because I deal with that the most. They only get so many. I believe, Coach Jones, volleyball is the same way. 12. They get 12. Okay, so when they offer a scholarship, that student gets everything paid for that particular sport. All right? But then you have equivalency scholarships. That means that they're going to pay a percentage. So let's say they get 36. I know Division II football gets 36 scholarships. They can divide that up in whatever way they want to. And I keep talking about football because that's what I deal with the most. But when I sat down and researched the other day, and you just type in Division I softball scholarship, a lot of information comes up, and it will tell you if it's a head count scholarship or an equivalency, meaning you're only going to get a percentage. So that doesn't mean you're not going to get everything paid for, but athletic aid would be a percentage of what you pay for overall. And what I mean by that is they can put packages together so that you do get a full ride. We have a kid a couple of years ago at another school that I was at that got 50% athletic money, but then had the Hope Scholarship, got Pell Grant, and everything got taken care of. So he had a full scholarship when we sit down and put things on paper. But from an athletic standpoint, he only had 50% of that money was athletic aid. Okay, I don't know if that makes sense, but most sports, even at the Division I level, are equivalencies. Okay, so when they're talking about we're going to give you this much money from an athletic standpoint, I don't want you to get caught off guard and think, oh, I'm getting a scholarship, so everything's going to get paid for. All right, but do yourself a favor and ask as many questions as you can when you start getting to that point of, hey, we're going to offer you a scholarship. What does that mean? All right, is that full athletic aid or is that partial? Okay. But again, use the internet. There's a lot of information out there. Start to gather that information for your sport or your student athlete sport. Okay, like volleyball, he said, what did you say, 12? 12. You need to know that. All right, so a Division I athlete, the University of Georgia's volleyball team is only going to offer 12 scholarships. That's sophomore or freshmen through seniors. So those 12 girls are going to get a scholarship. So it works different for every sport, so start researching those things. All right, the other thing, you have walk-ons. You see this a lot in football. It happens at every sport, but it is another opportunity to play at the next level. You're just not getting athletic aid. It's a great opportunity. That doesn't mean you can't get financial aid through academics or other avenues, because they find a lot of different ways to get you money, but it is a great way to continue your athletic career, with the opportunity to get a scholarship as you get into college. So if you walk on somewhere, that doesn't mean that you're going to spend 4 years where you're going to pay for school. No, you could go a year and then they could offer you a scholarship. You go a semester and then they could offer you a scholarship. So just because you don't get a scholarship from an athletic standpoint does not mean you don't have an opportunity to go play at the next level. That's another big misconception. But the biggest thing is we don't offer the scholarships, because if we did, all of our kids, I'm telling you, we have great kids here. They'd all get them because of the way they work, the way they compete, their character. But unfortunately, that's taken out of our hands, and the colleges, they're the ones that offer those. So don't get mad at your high school coach. You didn't offer, my kid didn't get a scholarship, it's your fault. Trust me, if we could give them a scholarship, we would. It's just not, it's taken out of our hands. All right? But this right here, this question, I probably get more than any other question, and your kids and your student athletes are going to get more than any other question. All right? What is your core GPA? And I'm not going to steal Dr. Conley's thunder, because she's going to get up here and explain this in a lot more detail. But that number right there is more important than any stat or any jersey number that they will ever wear. They don't care about those things. That number right there is the most important thing that your student athlete is going to accumulate over the next 4 years. All right? And we get asked it all the time. And unfortunately, it eliminates a lot of kids early on because they don't take school seriously until their junior year. That doesn't happen so much here as it does other schools that I've been at, because academics is a very, very important part of our school, which is great, because we don't have kids that get in a situation where they don't get the opportunity because of GPA. But this is a very, very important number, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Conley now, and she's going to go a lot more in detail about this. But the last thing I'll say is make sure you use your coach. Coach Hillman, you got something?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that full scholarships are few and far between. Best example I can give you, there are 360 Division I full scholarships in volleyball every year. There's a tournament in Atlanta with 12,000 kids in it. And there's 8 of those tournaments around the country. So there's 12,000 set of parents thinking they want to get one of those 360 scholarships.
Thank you.
Good evening. I was on my way here, and I have smaller children, and they were asking me where I was coming. I told them I was coming to the athletic parent night. And they said, well, Mama, you are not athletic. Why are you coming to the athletic parent night? So, as you can see, I am not here to talk about athletics. I am here to talk about academics. And so I'm excited that our department is here to represent, because we get a lot of those questions that Coach Arndt was referring to. Particularly when we have junior and senior meetings, kids will come in and say they're getting recruited. I'll mention it to a coach and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I never even knew that they wanted to play at another level. So that's why we wanted to be a part tonight, so that we could go ahead and start this conversation earlier, so that you guys could be aware of options and what those could look like for your students. So NCAA, there's also NAIA, and those are 2 different programs. It reminds me of GHSA. They oversee students and how they perform academically to ensure that they can perform athletically on the field. If you don't meet the cut, you don't get to play. So pretty much the same way as that works, and it can be complicated, I'll be honest. They change their rules, and they have different rules for different levels. And so to help us, we have worked with an organization called Core Course GPA. And if you were out there, you got a little salmon color sheet. It gives you their information for how you can log in and create an account for your student. Even if your student does not think they want to play NCAA level sports or NAIA level sports, this is a great program because it helps them to keep up with how their grades are and how they're performing. So there we go. So as you can see from the slide, NCAA has a Division I, a Division II, and a Division III level. And we primarily for tonight focused on Division I and II. It has a lot of information I'm going to go through a little bit, but we're going to post this, I believe, after tonight. So if you have questions, you can come back to this link and look at the information. So NCAA has what they call core courses, which is typically academics, English, math, science, social studies, and foreign language that they count. You are required for Division I to have 16 of those, but 10 of those have to be completed prior to your senior year, and those are locked in. So Hope GPA does not allow grades to go away. So if you fail geometry and you retake geometry, that F still stays for your Hope calculation. NCAA is a little more forgiving, and that F can go away if you have 10 other courses that can replace that. If you don't, then the F stays in that calculation. So again, it's good for kids to have an idea of where they are. 7 of those have to be English, math, or science, and they have to be completed prior to senior year. So it just takes some making sure that they've got what they need. This is really not a problem for our students in North Oconee. It can be for transfer students. And so for the most part, this has never come up for us, but we just want to put the information out there so you're aware. There is a minimum GPA, and that is a 2.30. NCAA core course GPA, not a power school GPA. So you have to enter your courses to calculate that. Also, you have to send your SAT and ACT scores directly to NCAA. They will not take them from us. There's a lack of trust from them if they don't come directly from the testing center. So when your student is registering for the SAT or ACT, we recommend for students to go ahead and put that 999 code in, 4 nines, so that they can go ahead and have those sent directly. Because again, they will not take them from anywhere else. And there's a sliding scale. So very much on point with what Coach Arndt was saying. We should move him over to the counseling office. He was speaking our language. There's a sliding scale. The better your grades, there's a little more flexibility with your test scores. The higher your test scores, there's a little more flexibility with your grades. So that's something that we try to use to encourage students to really do their best on those exams as well as in the classroom, because that can be helpful when they're looking to be recruited. There are full qualifiers and academic red shirts, and I am going to leave that more with you to ask the coaches the differences of those, but those are definitely differences that you would want to be aware of in regards to being recruited. So, that one kind of wonk us. So this is Division II. If you take the salmon color sheet, you really can see the differences on the back a little better, because I laid it out in like a chart for you to see. So you can have to have 16 core course GPA, 16 core courses, but the subcategories are different. So the breakdown is different. Whereas in Division I, there were certain criteria, Division II is different. Coach Art and I were actually talking about this today. There were kids that could be recruited for a school like UGA and meet their recruiting criteria, but they could not meet like a Valdosta State or Georgia Southern. It's a different division because the recruiting requirements are different. So we want to make sure our students and parents, thank you, are aware of that. Your GPA is also a little different. There's a 2.2 rather than that 2.3. And again, there is the requirement of the test scores to be sent. The sliding scale, I think, is very different, if not kind of obsolete at Division II. So really want to focus on having those test scores at the level that you need them, and then that GPA. And then there's a full qualifier and a partial qualifier for Division II. So So the main nutshell that we want to make sure you guys are aware of is that all GPAs are not created equal. And I apologize that there are so many kinds of GPAs. Welcome to high school, where you have a Power School GPA, you have a Hope GPA, you have an NCAA GPA, and none of them are calculated. You have a college GPA. When they apply to college, there will be different calculations as well. So they're all calculated very differently. So we just tell our kids, make good grades and you will be in great shape, right? No issues. But we want to make sure you understand, typically an NCAA core course GPA will be about a point on the 4.0 scale below what they have in Power School. Because Power School includes everything. It includes weight training. It includes intro to graphics and design. It includes all those electives that sometimes boost their GPA, and so NCAA does not count those. And so that can impact how their GPA looks on the core course. And for rising ninth graders, we want to make sure that they are aware 33% of your NCAA courses are taken care of in that freshman year. So it's really important for them to come in and perform strongly academically. Sometimes we get asked, can I take credits outside of North Oconee? You can, but they may not be NCAA eligible. And so what you can do is you can check to see if that institution is on NCAA's website and what courses are approved through them. We have to submit every one of our courses to NCAA for them to determine whether or not they are approved to count as a core course. So it's a lot of documentation and paperwork, and I would hate for families to pay, Georgia Virtual School is $500 a course, $500, and they are an NCAA approved school. But if you went to another institution and they were not, you paid $500 for a course that could not be calculated for NCAA eligibility. Some of our courses do not count, and that is, for example, math support, like a geometry support. Those will not count as a core course because they don't meet the academic criteria set by NCAA. Also, you may be NCAA eligible, but not eligible for that institution. So if your student is saying, we'll use Georgia Tech, then I want to go to Georgia Tech and play. Georgia Tech's admission standards for an athlete might be a little different than their typical admission standards, but they still are going to be higher than some other school standards. So that's why it's really important to talk to your coaches here, as well as talking to those college coaches, because I've had coaches say to kids, you got to hit 1180 to be eligible on your SAT. If you can't hit that, I can't recruit you. And so it's good for kids to know that earlier so that they can do test prep, so they can take the test again and hit certain deadlines. So you just want to make sure you're educated as a parent and that your student is as well about what they would need for those particular schools that they're interested in applying to. Also, you can be more recruited, such as Coach was saying, the higher your GPA and your test scores, colleges are evaluated on their academic performance, their athletic programs are, and if they can have students that are high performing in the classroom, then it boosts that GPA for the team. So that can definitely be feathering your students' cap as they're going through the recruiting process. So core course GPA is on the front of that. It is a free account. All you have to do, and I created one for me, so you would just put in your students' grades. And if you don't know, for example, I went ahead and put my senior grades in there and my junior, but if you have a freshman or a sophomore, you can put what you think they're gonna make, or you can leave it blank. This is something you can go back in and edit on a regular basis or after each semester. And then, if you hit the next slide, you'll do that for every academic course. At the end, it gives you this sheet, summary, and it tells you what your core GPA is. See, Division I's at 3.36 because it's calculated one way. Division II, you have a 3.56 because other courses were calculated to make that GPA. It tells you how many courses you need, tells you what your SAT minimum would be based on your GPA, and then it also has a detailed screen report that you can have. So when those coaches come to see your student, or you go on a visit to a college, or you're emailing them for recruiting, you're trying to promote who you are as an athlete, this is a great thing for you to send as a PDF to them so that they can see where you are academically as well. And this program also has marketing tools. So if you are interested in, I don't know what questions to ask to go on an official visit, they have a whole list that you can use that might generate some thought for you before you head to that first visit to talk with college coaches. And that is all I have. So our next speaker is Coach Peters.
I'm going to jump in just for a couple of things. First of all, Georgia Southern is a Division I school. It's a proud graduate. I got to say that. Division II school. This is so important. If your child wants to go play sports in college, this is a must-do. Colleges cannot offer your child a scholarship if they have not completed, we call it the clearinghouse. If they have not completed the NCAA clearinghouse, they have to do it. And I think there are even some rules on official visits. They can't give an official visit until you've passed the clearinghouse. So the next thing we're going to talk about is our sports performance training. And once again, we're thrilled to have Will Peters, who joined our staff. He has more things behind his name than anybody I know. He's very good at what he does. He's been on staff at Florida State. He's been on staff at Georgia Southern. He's trained big-time athletes. He really knows what he's doing. So he's going to talk to us a little bit about our sports performance training. And once again, let me emphasize, those days of training football players, much different than training everybody else, is gone. We don't train football players the way we did when I was young. You wanted those big, huge, and I was just in practice at Georgia. They're big and huge, but they're naturally big and huge. They're trained to be athletes. We train movement and all that. So that's what we're doing with our athletes here. We feel like we've taken a huge step forward with this. So I'm proud to introduce Will Peters.
Thank you, Coach Dallas. Good evening. Thank you guys for coming out. I'm Coach Will Peters. I direct our strength and conditioning program, but I also am an assistant football coach. I was fortunate enough to speak at this event last year, and I spoke on nutrition. And after being with our kids now for a year, and seeing their education and their knowledge of nutrition, I feel like you as parents and our coaches are doing a really good job with the education, the nutrition education that our kids are receiving. So this year I want to talk a little bit about what we're doing with our program, the vision we have for our program, some of the details of the program, what it consists of, the outline of it. But before I do, as a high school strength coach that also coaches football, there can sometimes be a stereotype, and Coach Dallas kind of mentioned this, that the strength coach is just a football guy that's in the weight room. And they coach football and they kind of do the strength work, as a second job or as part of that. That's not what I got into this field to do. I went to college to be a trainer. I got 2 degrees in exercise science to train athletes. So I tell people I'm not a football coach that's in the weight room. I'm a strength coach that also coaches football, and I think that's a big difference. I've been fortunate enough to work at a couple of college programs where I worked with all of their teams, from soccer, girls basketball, boys basketball, golf, tennis, every sport at the schools. I've been around good athletes and really good coaches and seen and been able to learn what good training is. But I have a passion for doing that at the high school level, and that's why I'm here. The vision for our program, I want what we do in our program to be a weapon for our athletes that helps them create a distinctive advantage over our competition. What that really means is I want to build confidence that when we walk on the court, the field, wherever we're going to compete, that our kids truly believe that we're going to beat ever who we're going up against before they even step on that court, that field, that arena. And that can be built in the weight room. Part of that is getting our athletes in weight training class And that's really important because I'm able to spend a ton of time with them. Let's be on block schedule. Classes are about an hour and a half. You're able to do a lot of stuff. And that's more than just the exercising. That can include the education, the nutritional education, the why, the purpose to what we're doing with the program that creates a better understanding and helps progress and push things forward. With our program, I also want to create a culture, an environment that changes the mindset, the attitude, and the confidence of our athletes. I also want to create a culture for our non-athletes to find passion and take pride in the benefits of exercise, strength training, or overall fitness. And we're really, every week, I'm seeing more and more progress with everyone in our program and everyone that's taking the class. You know, we've seen big time gains, not just in strength, but awareness and all the components that go into a good program. All right, the components that make up our program are strength, power and explosiveness, mobility and flexibility, okay, recovery from exercise, from the workout, from their practice, from their game, okay, conditioning. We're also trying to decrease their injury potential. If you look at the top, I put the foundation of an athlete. So we're trying to make our kids more athletic. Okay, what is more athletic and how do you do that? All right, to become more athletic, you've got to jump and land. You can be off one leg, you can be off two. Okay, you've got to sprint. Okay, you obviously got to lift. Okay, but you also got to throw. Throw is meaning throw medicine balls. Okay, that goes into the explosiveness, the power, all right, generation from that. All right, what makes a high school or working with middle school kids, in my opinion, more challenging than working with college or pro athletes is the range of experiences, abilities, and skills that you'll have in one setting. Okay, and what I mean by that is you could have, I'll take my 4th block class right now as a good example. Okay, we have a 9th grade non-athlete that has never maybe touched or lifted a weight or done anything structured with exercise ever. Then we'll also have a senior who's been lifting, you know, with parents at various gyms around the community since they were 6 or 7, who's also played multiple sports and has been exposed to many different degrees of training. Okay, so it's very, very challenging to differentiate and provide structure when you've got that large of a range of abilities or skills. All right. So what we do is we create progressions within our movement patterns. These are a few of the progressions that are part of our main progressions that try to put each athlete or each student at a point to seek progress, gain confidence, and get better at the movement or the skill. All right, with landing from a jump. All right, a beginner movement, a less experienced, underdeveloped movement would just be landing from a small hop on 2 legs. All right, a more advanced movement would be landing off of maybe coming down from a height like a box from the side or lateral on 1 leg. All right, when jumping, more beginner level would be jumping off 2 legs for height. All right, more advanced would be single leg bounding. Running mechanics can go anywhere from your seated, just working arm action, all the way into dynamic skipping, or sprint mechanic where you're actually running. Okay, squatting. Okay, squatting is a main movement pattern. It's something we do probably 4, if not 5 days a week in some form or fashion. Every kid starts off learning how to body weight squat. Okay, then they're progressed into holding a lightweight dumbbell in front of them. And that eventually works into a bar, a loaded bar. All right, so they're hitting different standards and numbers and techniques, and when they hit that, they move along in progression. Pressing, a hands elevated or a kneeling push-up progresses all the way to a bar loaded bench press or any other type of loaded press. Pulling, we start with a body weight row and work it all the way into a chin up, maybe with external resistance like a weight vest. We try to start everything body weight and it progresses to bar loaded. And we try to start poses or postures that are isometric. Isometric means it's static, it's a hold, and that's safer. Once that's filled with confidence and you're building a little strength of that, it can be progressed into more dynamic. Okay, so I think it's really important that we progress our kids at the very, very start of the baseline for that movement, and it moves on. The last thing I want to discuss, and this is really taking off with our middle school kids. I mean, I was talking to a parent when we were coming in about this program, and I was really hoping to get this program going, and it has exceeded what I ever thought it would be. Okay, ADP, it's our athletic development program for our middle school kids. It is all middle school kids, 6th through 8th grade, not just 8th graders, not just 7th and 8th, not just guys, not just girls. Anybody in the middle school can come. Obviously, we've had mainly athletes, but it could be non-athletes that may be interested in playing the sport as well. It's Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3:45 to 5:15. So far, we've had 70 to 85 participants. So we're averaging probably 75 on most days. Again, it is males and females. It's all mixed in. Going back to what I was mentioning about progressions, they're all started at the beginning of the progressions. Some of them have already progressed on. All right, but every kid comes in and is taught the very baseline of that movement progression. We will have 2 to 3 more weeks of this program after spring break. So if you do have a middle school kid that's not involved already, please have them come out for these last few weeks so they're exposed to it. They can get some confidence from coming. But we'll continue to do this next spring. If you have any questions for me about the middle school program or our program here at the high school, please feel free to email me and I will answer your questions as best I can. Thank you guys for having me.
Everybody gets up and leaves when the principal talks. I get it. It's all good. Good evening. How's everybody doing? Great. Last year they didn't invite me to this, so just glad I'm here tonight to be able to talk to you. Being a parent of a student athlete is extremely difficult. Speaking as someone who has little kids right now who are 7, 6, and 3, and watching them, the 7-year-old and 6-year-old, compete in athletic events, and actually coaching the 7-year-old and 6-year-old, it reminds you of how difficult it is sometimes to deal with kids, and how difficult it is when you realize that you're dealing with somebody's precious cargo and their kids. And so it can be difficult. And I also think that it can be extremely difficult to be a coach these days. Think about this. So when you go watch an athletic event, and it's either you're participating or not participating, we all make assumptions and judgments about things that happen in games and those sorts of things. But it's out there in the public, and there are not too many jobs that are just out there in front of everybody. And coaching is one of those things that's really difficult. So I want to say, I hear horror stories from other principals. For the 99% of the situations that I deal with as a high school principal, they're extremely positive with athletics. There are going to be times when coaches are human, people are human, they're going to make mistakes, and things are going to go wrong. But for the most part, what I've seen here is that people have their heart in the right place and they try to make decisions on what's best for the kid. As a parent, though, it's just difficult, right? Last year, Mr. Dallas and I were walking down the sidelines in the fall, and we were walking down, it was not even football season yet, and we were talking about things, and we were talking about parenting. And there's no really good guidebook on how to parent is what I've learned. And I looked at him and I said, all right, so listen, he's extremely competitive, I'm extremely competitive. And I said, all right, so let's say we're playing a Coney this year. And Thomas, his son's our kicker, gets up to kick the game-winning field goal. How do you react if he makes it as the parent? How do you react if he misses it as the parent? And he goes, I never thought about it. And as parents, we have to deal with those things each and every day, right? How do you deal with the success, or how do you deal with the failure? How do you build resiliency? You know, because as much as I love to win, we're not going to win everything, all right? So teaching ourselves how to have some humility and how to deal with failure is extremely important in this arena. Another thing I think about, and I ask kids all the time in my office, this is a question that I posed to them, and I'll read it to you. I asked them, I said, as a student athlete, would you rather play and the team lose, or would you rather not play and the team win? Ask your kid that. See what they say. I'm not saying there's a right answer or a wrong answer. I have my opinion on what the answer should be. But think about that. Think about that as the parent. Would you rather your child play and the team lose? Or would you rather your child not play and the team win? I think it humbles us when we start asking those questions and thinking about those kind of things. One thing I love to see is I love to see parents cheer their kids on. There's nothing, it's really fun to watch that happen. But when I'm engaged, something else I watch is I watch parents when they cheer on other kids who are not their kid who are on our team. And that's how you build community over time, is that you're supportive of each other. And that's what being on a team is about. And I think, you know, as the principal that's been here starting my 9th year next month, I see a lot of student athletes come to our school. And I've seen some of them be ultra successful at various levels in college. But the majority of them, the 80 to 90%, never went on to play past high school. And so we can talk about core GPA, we can talk about NCAA, we can talk about all these things, but ultimately, at the end of the day, we're trying to help our kids become better people. All right? And so athletics is an avenue for that. We did a survey of our kids earlier this week, and we asked them, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, we surveyed every kid in the school, and we said, what do you participate in? Athletically, what do you do? Are you in a club? Are you in the band? Are you in drama? Are you in chorus? And the percentage of kids that are involved in something in our school is about 87%. So 87% of our student body is involved in something. People ask why the graduation rate's 97%. It's because kids are active and they're involved, right? And so when kids are connected to the school and they feel a sense of belonging and they're excited about being a Titan and they love wearing red, they hate wearing blue. Really, I hate wearing blue. They get excited about it and they're more connected to the school. And guess what? Attendance is better at school. Grades are better. Treatment of parents is better. They drive better. They care about other people better. That's what happens when kids are active, when they're in communities, that they cheer on each other, they work together to be successful. Athletics is a very public event, right? I talked earlier about how coaches are out there and they have to coach, and you know, at the end of the game, there's a win or a loss, and you know, coaches are judged by wins and losses sometimes, not by all people. For us, for one thing that I look at with programs and teams is how are we developing young people? Are we making them better people? Are we making them better athletes? So those are the kind of questions that we talk about. When I talk about athletics being public, when your child puts on a Titan uniform, they represent all of us. Every single person in this room, every single person in our community. So when I meet with them at the beginning of the year, I talk to them for about 20 minutes every year about, you represent us. If our cheerleaders go and do something inappropriate at an event, guess what it says on the front page of the paper? North Oconee cheerleaders. Right? That's what it's going to say. And so that group of people represent all of us. And athletics is huge because, you know, there might be 600 people in a soccer game. And all 600 people are watching how our kids behave. Are they sportsmanlike? Do they do it the right way? Do they play the right way? Do they treat others the right way? And so, do us this favor. I know it says that I was going to talk something about the handbook, but help us work with your child to hold them accountable. All of us in our lives need accountability. It's good for us. It makes us better people. It makes us better individuals. So don't shy away from your kid being held accountable, because I think there are really good things that come out of when they are held accountable. I get a lot of questions about playing time. All right? And I don't really discuss playing time with people, but I'll tell you this. Over my 8+ years, coaches play who they trust. All right? The coaches make decisions on playing time about who they trust. All right? Can I trust you to do the right thing? Can I trust you to listen? Can I trust you to make eye contact? Can I trust you to respect what I said? So, and I talk to our coaches heavily about this. Play who you trust. I want to win just as much as everybody does. But I would rather lose with the right people than win with the wrong people. And so share that message with your kids. Make sure they understand that. And I'll close with a couple of things. One thing that we started doing over the last year and a half is at the end of every athletic season, our media specialist, Ms. Doler, calls the players from each individual team down to the media center. And we've designed a survey, and we survey those individual student athletes. So like for volleyball this year, there were 25 young ladies who filled out a form. All right, there were questions on there about, did you feel supported by the school? If you could change one thing about the season, what would you change and why? What was your experience like dealing with your coach? What was your experience like dealing with the assistant coaches? Is there a situation that you want to tell me about with the season? All right, and ever since we started this, I personally read every one of the surveys. All right, and so it gives me a good perspective to see what is the pulse of the team, right? What is the culture of the team? Is it a toxic culture? Is it a culture of caring? Is it a culture of competitiveness? So you get some very good information by doing that and getting that information back. So encourage your kids when they are called down to the media center to complete those surveys. Please encourage them to come down and complete those and give us good advice, because that feedback that we give, first that we get, gets read, number one, and then number two, we use that to help us get better. And ultimately, at the end of the day, this is a partnership. You're partnering with us, we're partnering with you. We want your child. I've never said or never thought that I wanted a kid to have a negative experience when they come to North Dakota. I want every kid, when they walk across the stage to 301, maybe 302, if that one kid makes it in May, will walk across the stage and shake my hand, and I want to believe that each of those kids have a positive experience. So work with me. My door is open, my phone is on. Reach out to me, please call me. Whatever you need to do, I want to make sure that your kid has a wonderful experience. And coaches have difficult jobs. Parents of student athletes have difficult positions to be in. So let's work together so that your child has a positive experience. And thanks for all your support. Thanks for coming. Have a great evening.
Hey, my name is Catherine Colquitt. I'm the athletic trainer here at North Oconee. I actually went to school here, graduated in 2011, so it's a real honor to be back here and to work at Iowa High School. If I haven't had a chance to meet you, you can probably see me driving around the school on that green Gator. That's usually where I'm going to each practice or each competition. So I'll make mine short. I've actually got to go out to soccer practice or soccer game pretty soon, but I just kind of want to talk about what I do here. So as an athletic trainer, I have 5 different areas that I cover. First one is preventative services. This stuff is like taping, making sure your kids are safe before they start practicing. Emergency care, activating EMS, things like that. Clinical diagnosis, so evaluating injuries and kind of figuring out what to do from there. Therapeutic interventions, so modalities, STEM, things like that. And then rehabilitation of orthopedic injuries. So my primary 2 things that I do here would be to evaluate injuries of our student athletes and kind of determine the next steps of how to get the athlete back to play, and then also provide coverage for all home events that we have here on campus. So I decided to just do kind of an FAQ on this part because I get asked a lot of questions each day of kind of what I do here. Unlike the rest of the faculty and staff here, I actually have different hours because our competitions, our activities take place after school. So I come in 1 o'clock each day, and then I stay until the very last event of that day. So students are allowed to see me anytime during the day. I do ask that they have permission from their teacher because I don't like them to miss class if they don't have to. And if they can't see me during the school day, then they can come in after school right before practice. Event coverage, so I am present for every competition that we do have here on campus. If we have multiple events going on in one day, I'm stationed at the one that has the highest risk. So that would be a sport that has more contact, things like that. But if there were to be an emergency at another event, then coaches all have my number, and I get right over there to deal with that situation. With football, I also cover all the practices and travel to their away games. So communication with coaches. When an athlete comes in and is injured, I usually do my best to notify the coaches of what the injury is and what we can do with that athlete in terms of practice, if we need to modify anything in practice, sit them out for that day, things like that. Coach Peters and I also work together in terms of weight training and body sculpting. If an athlete comes in and is injured, and it's something that I feel like they should be doing something in weight training, I let him know so that he can modify or limit something in the weight room. All right, so if an athlete gets injured during activity, if they get injured on campus, I evaluate them that day, and then we go from there of kind of the severity of the injury and the steps we're going to take for that injury. If they are injured in a away event, then they can follow up with the next day. Coaches or parents can also notify me of a time to see their injured athlete as well. The good thing about us going to local high schools, so if we go out to Oconee to play, I know a lot of athletic trainers in the area, so if there were to be an injury that night, they usually will call or text me and just say, hey, this person went down, this is what we're suspecting, can you follow back up with them tomorrow? So, and I do the same when we have local high schools come here as well. For treatment options for an injury, we're very fortunate to have a lot of good modalities here, a stem machine, ultrasound, heat, ice, taping, and bracing. My only thing with this is that I determine what treatment the athlete gets. I don't let athletes come in and say, hey, I want stem on my back. We want to create something where it's more of teaching them how to take care of their bodies before they just go into one certain modality. We want to teach them about stretching. We want to teach them about rolling out, foam rolling, things like that before they come in and just ask them for a certain modality. And then concussion protocol. The first step is identification. So what I really encourage with athletes, parents, and coaches is if any athlete is showing concussion symptoms, they need to be reported immediately to me. If I'm not present at that event, then parent, coach, or athlete needs to report this immediately so that we can go ahead and have a plan of action for them. If an athlete does have a concussion, then they're taken out of competition until their symptoms resolve. After that, we begin a progressional exertion protocol. That's usually about 4 to 5 days with that, and then we slowly get them back into their sport. So a big question that I get asked is, how long does concussion last? It depends on the person. So average 1 to 2 weeks. Some people take longer than that to recover. So it really depends on the athlete, and that's why I don't like to give a specific timeline of when you'll be back playing on the field. Here at North Oconee, if you do have a concussion, you must be cleared by a medical healthcare professional. So that can be through me as the athletic trainer, or if you want to go to any medical professional in the area, it can be a licensed physician, nurse practitioner, or physician assistant. But this must be cleared before they can return to play. And if you do go outside of this, we do need a note of clearance. All right, my last point is just different orthopedic clinics we do have in the area. You're free to go to whoever you want to, but these are some that we really do have good relationships with. Urgent Care of Oconee at Butler's Crossing, We have a lot of great physician assistants there who have sports medicine background, and they're really good with just communicating with us of issues that are going on. As well as Piedmont Healthcare on the Oconee Health Campus. That's actually where we're going to be having our free physicals this year. Ms. Tina will be talking more about that. And then Athens Orthopedic Clinic. If an athlete were to receive any injury-related instructions or clearance from a physician, I do ask that I get an official note from that physician so that we kind of know what's going on. And then for any orthopedic-related injuries, we do recommend they go see an orthopedic-related specialist just so that we can kind of be on the right page of their terms of treatment and returning to play. So that's all I have. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, you guys can feel free to email me, or if I'm just around on covering the event, you can come by and ask me questions. Thank you.
I thought she could pick that up there for me because I told her it was going to make me nervous to hold the microphone. I'm Tina Paul. I'm the assistant to the athletic director, and I keep all these men straight, and women. But the first thing I want to mention to you is I handle most of the paperwork around here, and I know paperwork is one of those dreaded evils. I always hated the first day of school when the kids came home with all this paperwork to sign. I had no clue what I had signed by the end. But I did as I was told. And I like for people to do as they're told. But the first thing on the back of the white sheet is where we want to kind of get your information if we don't have it already. And that can be done online. And if you don't have access to do that online, if you would fill this out before you leave and drop it in the box out there where you came in. Something new to us this year, and we started it with the transition of winter sports, is we went to an electronic medical record. So what this means to you is that all of our physical paperwork now is done through a website, and so it really helps us to know that you fill it out. It kind of reminds you when you haven't completed something, so we don't have to go back and look at papers and see, oh, they missed a signature here. Send it back and forth with students who cannot be very reliable. Sometimes when it comes to paperwork, they'll just put it in the bottom of their book bag and they'll forget to give it to us. So we really like this system. It's called Dragonfly Max. It's electronic, as I said. All of the participation paperwork is part of that program. So you'll sign all of the permission to be treated by the athletic trainer, the permission to travel, you'll put your insurance information and everything. So you're encouraged, the student to have an account and the parent to have an account. There's also an app that goes with it. We do encourage you to use the desktop to kind of fill everything out at the beginning, but you could follow up on the app for other things. Now, if there's an injury, the athletic trainer would use that program as well to document some things. Now, I wouldn't be able to see that because it's privileged information, it's medical, but she would have access to know that, you know, a student is limited in participating, and our coaches would have access to know that. So that's all of our information about that. Students encouraged to complete the paperwork together. Rising 9th grade students should request a copy of their current physical from Malcolm Bridge. Once you fill out an account on Dragonfly, you can upload that. If you have any problems with the uploading, we'll be happy to do that for you. You'll just have to send it in to us. Okay, GHSA requires a physical on every athlete, and we have to get that every year. It's good for a year, and there is one exception. If you're having the physical done after April 1st, the physical will be good through the rest of that calendar year. So for us to go to the free physical on the 27th, your physical is going to be good from April the 27th until May of next year when we go to school the last day. Now, if you have your physical done August 1st, 2019, your physical is going to expire July 31st, 2020. Okay, so what you'll do is you'll complete the Dragonfly, and that information is on actually 2 sheets possibly. It's on the back of this yellow sheet, and it tells you how to create your account. And then you'll go in and fill out all of the medical information, travel signatures, etc. But you will complete the history form online and then print it out to take to the doctor. You will not have to fill out another history form for the doctor unless you fail to print that out. So just make sure you print the history form out. Update the information at any time there's a change in your student's medical history. So if something happens and they're diagnosed as a diabetic and they weren't when you had the physical, make sure you go in and update that information. Okay, blank physical forms can be picked up in the front office. If you're going to have a physical now, there is some in the front office that's on a salmon color. If you wait till April 1st or after, you need this green sheet. So it goes into detail. Okay, our free physical opportunity is Saturday, April 27th. We're going to meet as an athletic group at the gym at 7 a.m. And this is for rising 9th graders and all other students who will be at North Oconee next year. There is going to be a sign-up sheet on our website. I don't know if that sign-up sheet is available on the website yet because our technology teacher was in industry certification, so that hasn't been her primary responsibility this week, but some of the coaches have already sent that out in an email. But you'll be able to sign up until the Friday before. And again, the history form is going to be required. If your student appears here to ride the bus with us and does not bring that history form with them, or a filled out history form, you won't be able to get that physical done that day. Okay, and it's Coach Davis's turn again.
All right, I'm the one that's going to finish it off, and I'm going to get you out of here real quick. First of all, I want to say I appreciate all of our speakers. Dr. Brown and I, we stand up in front of groups and talk all the time, but some of these people were very nervous and scared to death, and I think they did a great job of delivering the information, which is what tonight was about. It wasn't about standing up here and entertaining, it was about giving you information that you need. The Georgia High School Association, we keep mentioning that, or GHSA, that is the governing body for athletics in high school. Dr. Brown and myself are both on the executive committee of the Georgia High School Association. That means we get a vote. We're the only school in the state that has 2 people on the executive committee. Dr. Brown got placed on the executive committee for the principals committee, and then I was elected to be on the committee from our region, 8 Quad A. So we have 2 votes at the GHSA. I don't know what that means other than it means what it means. But the Georgia High School Association is going through a huge change right now, and I get a lot of questions, so I'm just going to share some quick information with you about you, because it affects North Oconee. It affects us all. We are going through what's called reclassification, and it happens every 4 years. They're about to change it to every 2 years, which is what we had been for years, then they went to 4 years. So we've been in this current region, this is our 3rd year, we will be in it 1 more year, but reclassification is taking place. You might be aware there's single A through 7A. Dr. Robin Hines, the executive director of the Georgia High School Association, has proposed dropping from 7 classifications to 6 classifications. And his argument for this is that it means less travel time and less missed class. So that is a big argument, really, that's going on right now. And if the preliminary numbers that I've gotten could put us in 5A if we drop back. Oconee and North Oconee will not be in the same region after next year. We will not be in the same classification. We will be split. We know that right now because we know the numbers. So this next year coming up will be our last year with Oconee County High School in the same classification. Now that could change down the road, depending on how the schools grow and all of that. But for the next 2 years at least, possibly 4, we will not be with Oconee County High School. So just be aware of that. It's going to make us have larger regions. If we go to 6 classifications, we're going to have larger regions. Right now we have 5 teams in our region. If you finish 4th, you make the playoffs. So and we haven't, and as you might know, we've had to travel a long way to find games. In all sports, we've had to travel a long way because we've had to find so many games outside of our region. You know, if you're in a 10-team region and you're playing soccer and you play the other 9 teams twice, you just got 18 games with someone fairly close to you in your region. But if you're in a 5-team region and you play each team twice, you only get 8 games. To compound that, our soccer coaches, not the North Oconee soccer coaches, but the soccer coaches from our region, decided to play each other only once. So you only get 4 region games. Well, if you're going to fill out a 22-game schedule, you've got to go find 18 games. And in order to do that, you're going to have to travel to do it. And our teams are leaving school too much, way too early. I tell this story. I went with the softball team a few years ago over to Carrollton, where they won in the playoffs. And a doubleheader. It was late at night. And I was on the phone with Dr. Brown. We were all excited because, you know, Dr. Brown and I love to win. And our kids were all excited. They were cheering. And you know, we're moving on in the state playoffs. And Dr. Brown said, tell them they don't have to be in first period tomorrow. They're excused. And so I got on the bus and I said, hey, Dr. Brown says you're excused from first period tomorrow, first block. You don't have to be there until 9:45. And I had 6 girls start crying. And I said, what's wrong? Like, I have Mr. Rosh for AP U.S. History. I've got to be there. I said, honey, you can come. But that's the pressure our kids are feeling. And with AP classes, and our kids take a lot of AP classes, a lot of them have to be 4th block. We have to have AP classes every period of the day. So a lot of them are taking AP's 4th block, and they're missing a lot of time. That would be one of the benefits if we dropped the 6 classifications. We would not have as much missed class time. We wouldn't be getting home quite as late at night. So there are a lot of positives from it. But a lot of people don't want it. Obviously, the people in 6A don't want it because they don't want all those schools from 7A coming back to 6A. That's what they want to avoid. So there's a lot of arguments going on. Believe it or not, single A is not for it because they feel like it pulls too many people down to them. So they're arguing against it. So there's a lot of argument going on. That's what's going on right now. Dr. Brown and I are traveling to Macon on the 18th of April, where we will vote. Hopefully we will vote on the final plan, and we'll know more then at that time. Anyway, so I just want you to know that because there's a lot of talk out there about reclassification, where we're going to fall, what we're going to be. We don't really know. We'll know after the 18th. We'll have a better idea about that. Back to North Oconee. One of the things that I would like to encourage all of you to take advantage of is the All Sports Pass. And a lot of people do take advantage of it. It is a great deal. I have a lot of our athletes that I see when I'm standing at gates and with the gatekeepers that are paying to get into these games over and over and over. Like if the times I had seen you pay, you had bought an All Sports Pass, you would have more than paid for all of these things you've been to. You would be saving money. You'd be getting in for free now. It's a great deal. $65 at the beginning of the year, and your child can get in all sports events for that entire year that are not playoffs. Georgia High School Association doesn't let anybody in. It's their game. But other than that, they can get into any game for free. So it's a great deal. I'd like to encourage you to take advantage of that. And I want you to say what Dr. Brown said. I'm going to echo as well. My door is always open. My phone is always on. Trust me, ask my wife. My phone is always on. Feel free to contact me. Feel free to ask questions. We want to be transparent. We want to talk. Playing time, you need to talk to your coach about that. I don't control playing time. But, I'm willing to talk to you about anything that you need. please feel free to contact me. I'm here this evening. If you need questions answered, if you want to ask questions, if you want to talk, I'm here to talk to you. Okay, Coach Feldman want me to bring up this point. One of the rules is you have to be in school a half day on the day of a competition to participate in that competition. If the competition is on Saturday, you have to be in school a half day on Friday in order to be eligible to participate on the weekend. Now, if there's obviously extenuating circumstances, Dr. Brown, the principal of the school, has the authority to clear your child to play if there's a situation. But just to miss, you can't do that. That's one of our good rules. Thank you, Coach. So that's it for this evening. I thank you for coming. I appreciate any feedback you're willing to give me. I hope you got some good information this evening. And go Titans.